Eris might go to my mama's because I told her she could.
Both of y'all.
No.
Y'all favorite.
Yeah, mine is just so she don't be studying, so I just, at least Michaela do act like she love.
Both y'all. All y'all favorites.
Having surgery, you alright?
No. Her number one favorite niece is Tamara for sure.
Well, she's been here the longest time.
Nobody expected that night to turn into a public confession. What was supposed to be a nostalgic moment, a reunion of love, loyalty, and second chances, became one of the most humiliating scenes of T.I.'s entire career. Cameras were rolling, fans were screaming, and Tiny was standing on stage with tears in her eyes, holding a microphone in one hand and something much heavier in the other, a secret tape that would change everything. But let's rewind for a second, because this story didn't begin on that stage. It started long before, back when T.I. and Tiny were the power couple everyone admired. They were the example of ride or die love in hip-hop. Through arrests, scandals, and reality TV chaos, Tiny stayed. She was always the calm in his storm. But behind those smiles and flashy red carpet moments, cracks were forming. Cracks that no one wanted to admit were getting deeper by the day. For months, rumors had been floating around. People whispered about T.I.'s ego, his temper, and his habit of always needing to be in control. But Tiny was no longer the woman who once quietly stood behind him. She had found her own voice, her own identity, and she was done playing small to make him look big. The tension between them started leaking into interviews, social media posts, even family events. And when fans noticed that Tiny suddenly stopped wearing her wedding ring, the internet exploded. At first, T.I. brushed it off. He laughed about it, acting like people were just making drama out of nothing. But deep down, he knew something was different. Tiny wasn't reacting the same way anymore. She wasn't chasing peace, she was demanding respect. And when she found something that confirmed her worst suspicions, everything she'd been holding in finally snapped. It all started with a phone call. Tiny was in the studio, working on new music, when a close friend called and told her to check something that had been circulating quietly in private circles. It was a recording, a conversation that wasn't meant to be heard by anyone outside a very small group. But what she heard when she pressed play made her heart drop. The voice on that recording was unmistakable. It was T.I. But what he was saying was something no woman, no wife should ever have to hear. He wasn't just venting. He was confessing, boasting. And worst of all, he was talking about someone very close to Tiny, someone she trusted. In that moment, Tiny realized that her loyalty had been taken for granted, that while she had been fighting to save their image, he had been out there feeding the same kind of rumors he always swore weren't true. But Tiny didn't react the way people expected. She didn't scream or post a cryptic message online. She stayed quiet. Too quiet, because she had a plan. Weeks later, T.I. reached out. Maybe he felt her pulling away. Maybe guilt was creeping in. Either way, he started making grand gestures. Flowers, long messages, even showing up unannounced at her shows. The kind of moves that looked romantic from the outside, but up close, it felt desperate. Tiny knew it. Everyone around her did too, but she let him play his part, because she wanted him to feel what it was like to be exposed, to be caught in his own performance. The night it all went down, the air was thick. Tiny was performing at a special event in Atlanta, one that was supposed to celebrate women in music. T.I. showed up unexpectedly, wearing that same confident smile that used to melt everyone's defenses. Cameras followed him as he walked in. Fans cheered. It looked like the perfect setup for a surprise reunion. Halfway through the show, Tiny took a break. The lights dimmed, and she started talking about forgiveness, about how love can hurt more than hate when it's betrayed. Her voice trembled, and the crowd went silent. No one knew where she was going with this. But then, she said something that made the entire audience hold their breath. She said, "Sometimes love hides the truth, but the truth don't stay hidden forever." And with that, she reached into her pocket, pulled out her phone, and pressed play. The speakers filled the room with a voice everyone recognized instantly. T.I.'s. The crowd gasped. It was raw, unfiltered audio of him bragging about being too real for marriage, about how Tiny knows what it is, and laughing with someone in the background, a woman who sounded way too familiar. T.I.'s face dropped. He froze, realizing exactly what was happening. He tried to rush to the stage, but Tiny kept speaking, calm but firm, her voice echoing over the chaos. "You said I could handle anything, right? Well, now the world can handle this." The crowd erupted, some in shock, some in applause. Security tried to calm things down as T.I. argued with staff, yelling that it was all a setup, that the tape was taken out of context, but the damage was already done. Every phone in that room was recording. Within minutes, clips of the moment flooded social media. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. People were reposting the video, dissecting every word, every expression. Tiny finally exposed him. She had the receipts all along. This is wild. That night, the internet was on fire. Hashtags with their names trended worldwide. Celebrities even weighed in, some siding with Tiny for taking her power back, others saying she went too far by humiliating him publicly. But no one could deny the intensity of what just happened. T.I. didn't stay silent for long. The next morning, he posted a long video trying to explain himself. He claimed the recording was from years ago, that someone had edited it to make him look bad. He called Tiny's move emotional and unfair, but his tone wasn't confident. It was defensive, almost shaky. People could hear the fear beneath the anger. Tiny, on the other hand, didn't respond right away. For days, she stayed off social media, but when she finally spoke, it wasn't through a statement or an interview. It was through music. She dropped a new song out of nowhere, a slow, haunting track that sounded like heartbreak and liberation all at once. Fans instantly connected the lyrics to what happened. Lines like, "I gave you grace, you gave me games, and I held you up while you were holding someone else," hit deep. The song climbed charts overnight. It wasn't just a hit, it was a message. Tiny had turned her pain into power. Meanwhile, T.I. was struggling. Brands started distancing themselves. His podcast episodes suddenly went on hold. Even some of his close friends stopped showing up publicly to defend him. It wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about pride, control, and the illusion of being untouchable. What made the situation even worse was when another clip surfaced online, a behind-the-scenes video from the event where Tiny confronted him. In that footage, T.I. can be seen pleading with her backstage, his voice breaking as he says, "You didn't have to do me like that, Tiny. You know I love you." But Tiny's response? Calm. Cold. She looked at him and said, "You should have thought about that before the world had to find out who you really are." That one line broke the internet again. Because it showed something deeper. It wasn't just revenge. It was closure. Tiny wasn't trying to destroy him. She was freeing herself. In the following weeks, everyone close to them started taking sides. Some of Tiny's friends spoke out, saying they'd been warning her for years that T.I. would never change. On the other hand, a few of his old associates hinted that Tiny had planned the whole thing for attention, but fans weren't buying that. The emotion on her face, the way her voice cracked when she said those words, it was too real to be staged. And yet, what shocked everyone the most was what came next. Despite everything, the humiliation, the public breakdown, the viral chaos, T.I. didn't walk away. He started showing up again, quietly, apologizing in person, sending flowers, posting cryptic messages about learning from mistakes and fighting for family. He even showed up at their daughter's event, where paparazzi caught him trying to talk to Tiny again. This time, though, she didn't ignore him. They spoke privately for a few minutes. No yelling, no tears, just a conversation. People who were there said it looked emotional but calm, like two people trying to figure out what next even means after so much damage. Later that night, T.I. went live on Instagram. His eyes looked tired. He said, "Sometimes the hardest part about being real is admitting when you were wrong." I ain't perfect. I ain't proud of everything I did, but I still love my family, and I'm gonna fight for it till the end. It was emotional, but fans were divided. Some believed him, saying he was finally showing accountability. Others thought it was just another performance, a way to fix his image after everything fell apart. Tiny never responded directly to that video, but she posted a photo the next day, just her and her kids smiling. The caption simply said, "Peace hits different when you stop protecting the wrong people." That one post said it all. Months went by, and while their relationship stayed uncertain, one thing became clear. Tiny had reclaimed her voice. No longer the quiet partner, she turned public betrayal into power. Fans began calling her the blueprint for self-respect. T.I., on the other hand, has been trying to rebuild, through therapy or family, depending on who you ask. But that moment on stage changed everything. It wasn't just about a tape, it was about truth. Tiny didn't just expose T.I., she exposed the pain behind silence and the power of choosing yourself.